This is Johnny and Jose with TigerBomb MMA, and tonight we'll be going over Bellator 257, Nemkov versus Davis 2. We'll be doing the main card just because it's Bellator. The main card primarily, but there are a couple fights in the undercard that we'll be highlighting because we think there might be some money there depending on the odds. But yeah, to start off, I've got to talk about a particular fight that I like, and that's Peter. I keep calling him Peter. It's Pedro Carvalho. I'm trying to anglicize him versus J.J. Wilson. So J.J. Wilson, for those of you who aren't aware, he is a New Zealand kid. He is 23 years old. He's kind of a prodigy, but not the B.J. Penn type of prodigy because he's not going to be found in a strip club getting beat up by bouncers. But he's pretty damn solid. He went to a split decision win with Taiwan Claxton. And if you don't know who Taiwan Claxton is, he had a highlight reel knockout a couple years ago where he did like a flying knee, knocked a dude out. And the flying knee was like ridiculous. Like, I don't know how many feet away, but it just didn't look correct physically. It's almost like he broke the matrix. But yeah, he went to a split with him, and Taiwan's a really good wrestler. And he knocked out some scrub, Sergio Debari, with like a really weird, wicked overhand right. So he's got some power in his hands. As for Pedro Carvalho, he trains at Straight Blast Gym, and he recently got his ass beat by Pitbull. Pitbull knocked him out kind of wickedly too because he kind of knocked him out standing. He kept hitting him with everything, right? Pedro is the type of dude that he's got really good jujitsu. It's just that he really tries to prove himself to be like a tough striker, and it's not really the best thing for him. He has to rely on that grappling. The grappling is probably going to cancel itself out here. Uh, Pedro's 25 years old. Damn, he's 25. I honestly thought he was older than that. That's a shocker. But no, I think he's going to get knocked out. So J.J. Wilson, maybe by a knockout. I like that prop there. Julia Budd, I think she's going to win her next fight by decision. We talked about this in our last breakdown in Bellator. She's just a habitual winner when it comes to MMA. She's 37 years old. She's fighting a woman with less experience. The only concern is that she's Brazilian, and I don't know anything about her. Her opponent is Sayana Silva. She is a huge, huge underdog. She's a plus 445 underdog. The only downside about Julia Budd is that she's a minus 675 favorite. But if you put her as a decision prop, so that might potentially drop that significantly. My guess would be like minus 200, particularly. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And we've got Viktor Nemkov, the older brother of the headlining fighter, Vadim Nemkov. And that's all I really have to say about that guy. You can put him in a parlay in this particular card because he's fighting a guy who is 10-3. He's fighting out of Sweden. Name of another Swedish fighter that's really good other than Alexander Gustafsson. So Viktor Nemkov, he is 30-7. It's a pretty good damn record, especially a Russian having a record like that and training with the world champ. Pretty easy to pick this dude. Any fights you're interested in on the other card before we go into the main card? I know I kind of highlighted all the good ones.
No. Just one thing to note about Pedro Carvalho. For some reason, I was thinking of the Carvalho that lost to Machida recently, and so that put him in not so good limelight to me. And I
Mm,
also noticed that he also trains at SBG Ireland, so
yep.
that's another knock. But I don't know how well that's going to go for him since we don't really know how much training he's been doing with the GOAT. And no, I'm not talking about McGregor, the double champ. No, I'm not talking about Dylan Dennis, his protege. I'm talking about the real GOAT, who's made SBG what it is today, and that's Artem Lobov. We don't know how much Artem has been, if he's been training with Artem at all, if he's been pushing him past his limits and forging him into, an iron sword for SBG Ireland, their next star. So that's really my biggest concern. The other fact that I was looking at, yes, this guy's 25 years old, and he started his professional career in 2012. So that's 9 years ago, if I do my math correctly. This guy's been fighting professionally since he's 16 years old. And having an 11-4 record, that's not bad. I mean, that's, he started off pretty young and he's grown up in the sport. So props to him. However, this other guy, JJ, when you have two first names, that's pretty, and you're undefeated. That's pretty. That's a lot to overcome. I don't know if Pedro's going to be able to do that. Julia Budd, I think she's gonna. They should probably call her, steamroller. She's probably gonna steamroller over Diana Silva. She's not gonna know what hit her. Viktor Nemkov, yeah, I'll go with the Russian over the Swede. Um, and I think that should pretty much do it for the undercard. I have really nothing else to add other than those are um, well, I would say the closest matchup of those three on the undercard is going to be the JJ Pedro fight. That can possibly, whatever side you decide to take might shit the bed. I'd say Julia Budd and the is it older? He's older than
Yeah, he's the older Nemkov.
older. Okay, so the lesser Nemkov and Julia Budd are probably the safer bets. But then again, it's MMA, so you never know. One of these guys might get kicked in the groin and win a championship. So
Well, to start off the main card, we have a flyweight bout between Vera Ortega and Desiree Duty Diz Yanez. The odds currently are plus 105 for Ortega, and Giannis comes back at minus 135. Those odds are, I guess, are solid. I guess I'm not going to spend too much time on this fight because I don't know too much about either of these two girls. The only thing I know is that Ortega's record is 5-4. She lost to Elimile McFarland and Alejandra Lara. And I did a little bit of tape watch on Dirty Days, Desiree Yanez, and I wasn't impressed by her. She's coming out of Combate Americas. I think they were trying to groom her into being a champion. I don't see it, to be honest with you guys. She's moving up in weight. She usually fought at like 115, and I'm not sold on it. I will pick her to win by decision just because, but I'm not sold whatsoever. I'm not touching this one. I wouldn't advise anyone to touch it unless you have a good read on it. Go for it. But me being inexperienced with these two ladies, not for me. I'm not even sure why it's on the main card.
yeah, this one's a head scratcher. This is I don't know if whoever is the matchmaker for Bellator has been looking at the recent UFC cards, but yeah, real this yeah does not belong on any card. This belongs on in never mind. I was going to say something, but yeah, no. What's her name? Vita Artiega. She lost via forehead cut to McFarlane, which isn't bad, but McFarlane lit her up in that fight. Didn't look good. She lost to Alejandra Lara by decision in her last outing. This was wow, year and almost a year and a half ago. So she's been out for a while. Yeah, that alone, I think for that reason alone, I'm going to pick Desiree to win this fight. But I don't think this is. This is. I think this fight just serves. I don't know. There must be some psychological reason they put this fight on the main card. Probably to gear people up to like, oh, gee, dear God, let me, poke my eyes out, or just, up the anticipation for the co-main and main events. But yeah, this fight for sure will go over. It'll be 15 minutes of mind-numbing action.
Our next matchup at welterweight, we've got Paul Semtex Daly versus Sabah the Sleek Chic Homasi. And you know that joke by Cat Williams where he talks about a guy getting a Chrysler 300 because it looks just like a Phantom, but when a real Phantom comes up on you, you decide to go the other way because you don't want to be seen next to an actual Phantom. This is exactly this matchup, but when it comes to striker versus striker, Paul Daly is the Phantom. Sabahamasi is the Chrysler 300. It's plain and simple, he's going to get knocked out. Paul Daly doesn't play around with these types of games. Sabahamasi really frustrates me, right? Like, he got knocked out by Abdul Razak Al Hassan twice. You know, the first one had its controversy because, oh, I was diving for a takedown, but no, you were out. The second one, no controversy, gets knocked out. He goes into Bellator and he's on a 3-fight win streak. He's knocked out Micah Terrell, which of course you're going to knock out Micah Terrell. He knocked out Bobby Volker in his last fight, but Bobby Volker's like 48 years old. You know, at this point, I'm surprised he's even able to get out of bed. And he knocked him out later in the round, I think like the third round or something. The one thing that really pissed me off about Sabah Homasi is that he grapple fucked Curtis Millender. Curtis Millender, he's not the greatest MMA fighter. We know what his weaknesses are, and that is his takedown defense. And honestly, Homasi exploited that. He looked gassed and he just took him down. He got the win, good for him. But like, if you're gonna consider yourself and talk up your striking ability, and you don't strike with a guy like Curtis Millender, a guy who you potentially could have knocked out, it just kind of leaves a sour taste in my mouth. I think Millender, if I remember correctly, hurt him a couple times, which led him to go and take down Millender. Hamasi, that is, would take down Millender, and it just I didn't like it. I didn't like what I saw in that particular fight. I see him trying that same approach here. I'm honest to God surprised he took the fight with Paul Daly. He might think, oh, Paul Daly's aging. He's 38 years old. I can get him at the end of his career, put him on my on my resume, but it's not going to work out. Paul Daly has fought over 60 times at this point. He's 42, 17, and 2 compared to Hamasi's 15 and 8. Paul Daly's going to knock him out. First round, second round, I don't know what round he's going to knock him out. I don't know how he's going to knock him out. Left hook, uppercut, overhand right, flying knee, spinning back elbow, whatever Paul Daly wants, Paul Daly's going to get, and Paul Daly's going to get that chin. He's going to send Hamasi into the hospital. Hopefully, the coma isn't very long and he wakes up. Pray for Hamasi because he's getting knocked out by Paul Daly.
Yeah, you said it. You hit it right on the button. Both of these guys, are have committed that sin where they go away from their striking and they just fight not to lose. Unfortunately, it didn't work out so much for Paul Daly. He tried that with MVP. Mossy tried to do that with who was it? With Millender. I remember that horrible performance, which was reminiscent of like in my mind, I'm just thinking, who the hell do these guys think they are? GSP?
Let me cut you off real quick. I forgot to mention the odds. I was so enraged by that performance from Hamasi that I forgot to bring up the odds. Paul Daly
Uh,
minus 175, Hamasi plus 145.
well, I was about to say the odds are, Homasi's probably going to shit his pants as soon as he feels Paul Daly's power, and an uppercut as he's trying to smell what kind of soap he used on his crotch. Let's see. Both these guys are in their 30s. Daly's closer to 40. He has three. Omasi has a 3-inch height advantage. So yeah, there's a possibility he might get caught with that uppercut if he tries that takedown. Because apparently Paul Daly's, the equivalent of a midget with super long arms. He's got a 3-inch reach advantage. So he's kind of like Delzin, I guess, from Street Fighter. Yeah, so yeah, I'll go with Daly. I'd probably stay away from this fight as well. I'm not too high on either of these guys. Paul Daly isn't. I don't know if Semtex is the right nickname for him still, but I'm pretty sure he still has that power. Hopefully he's been training, keeping his cardio. But I'd say let's take a look at the weigh-in to see what kind of shape Daly comes in because it's really realistically it's his fight. He has so much experience. Um, I just hope he doesn't get overly confident and look past Hamasi. He might because Hamasi's not really big name. Um, yeah, I'd say let's wait till weigh-ins to make a decision. But just based on experience and what I've seen as of late, I'll take Daly by knockout. But realistically, where these guys are heading or the direction these guys are heading, probably by decision.
Make a quick, bold prediction. I predict Sabah Homasi is going to pull out of the fight.
Very possible. Very possible. Hamasi um, promised to donate $100,000 to Semtex's nonprofit Semtex might call him out on it if he doesn't deliver, I guess, by the weigh-ins, and then Hamas is going to get pissed and then just drop the fight and probably fight someone else in the top 10.
All this will happen on Twitter, I would presume.
Yeah, yeah, probably. Yeah, that would be the best place for it.
Moving on, we've got the quarterfinal matchup for the light heavyweight tournament for the championship. We've got Corey Beaston 20. Oh, wait, that changed. It's overtime, which is a lot easier to say. Corey Overtime Anderson versus, and I'll try not to butcher it because I've been practicing it this whole week. Uh, Dovletdzhan Yagshimuradov in a fight that will determine who will fight Ryan Bader next. I think it's Ryan Bader. I hope to God I got that right. Yeah, it is Ryan Bader. It should be Ryan Bader because the tournament is Ryan Bader and Machida. Ryan Bader moved on. Then Corey Anderson versus Yagshimuradov. And then those two will fight. And then the winner of the main event will fight the winner of Johnson versus Romero. But this fight, I'll start with the odds because it's going to really reveal a lot. Corey Anderson minus 170, and the return on Yagshin Muradov is plus 150. I didn't know a damn thing about this guy, uh, Yagshin Muradov. He is 18-5-1 compared to Anderson's 14-5. Very fascinating matchup after doing a bit of research on Yagshim Durodov. I'm keep butchering it, whatever. He's kind of a wild dude. He spins, he goes for takedowns. I'm not too familiar with this guy whatsoever. I don't have enough time before we did the recording to really get a grasp on who this guy really is and what his skill sets are. But from what I've seen, it's pretty impressive. I understand now why he's in the tournament because like when you see the names, you see, Phil Davis, you see Nemkov, you see Romero, you see Bader, you see Anthony Johnson, and then you see Yagshimuradov. Like, who the fuck is that? But it starts to make sense. And honestly, Corey Anderson, he might have a bit of a handful in this one because we know what Corey Anderson does. Like, there's nothing. I don't want to say there's nothing special, but it's the truth. There's nothing special about what Corey Anderson does. He is a wrestle boxer. I would say 80% wrestle, 20% boxer, and he has gotten better at the striking, and the boxing has improved. It's just that chin. Like, if you know anything about Corey Anderson, you know that he wrestles and he's got a horrible chin. We've seen him get knocked out stiff by Blahovic. We've seen him get knocked out stiff by OSP. And it's one of those things like the OSP fight, he's dominating that fight, and then bam, he's out. And it's it. It's over. And that's kind of what I feel is going to happen in this matchup because Yagshimuradov, his wrestling's not too bad. I didn't see too much of his takedown defense. He is the shorter guy. He's 5'11 compared to 6'3 for Corey Anderson. And I don't have the reach for Yagshimuradov, but I'm going to assume that Corey Anderson has really long fucking arms. At this point, I predict that Yagshimuradov is going to actually knock out Corey Anderson. I cannot trust Corey Anderson's chin for anything. Even when it came to the fight with Melvin Manhoef, there was a chance, but realistically, he just towered over Melvin. So it didn't make sense to actually bet Melvin in that fight because he got taken down and demolished. As for Yakshim Durodov, I think he's going to catch Corey Anderson. I think he's going to catch him really early. He's going to stun him and knock him out clean. He's going to be the dark horse of this tournament because I think he's pretty damn skilled. It's just that I don't know how skilled he is. If he can get a win over Anderson, I think it'll really cement himself as kind of a name to watch. Even if he loses the tournament, let's say Bader beats him, I think he's still a guy to keep an eye on. He's fairly exciting. He has the wrestling, he has the submissions. He's kind of the total package, but it's not fully polished yet. So he's not Lex Luger total package yet. He's just a little below that. So we'll see how he does. I'll go ahead and pick him to win. I'll say knockout in the first round.
The odds, taking a look at the odds at first, I was like, wait, why is this so close? Odds wise, Corey Anderson should be a bigger favorite. And at first glance, you're like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to go with Corey Anderson because the odds are so close. It's good value. But I too looked at his record, and he has decent striking, decent grappling. Sure, he hasn't fought a lot of big name guys. He did lose to Magomed Ankalev. This was 6-7 years ago. So Ankalev too wasn't the Ankalev that we know now. Now he's a killer. And he's probably going to be fighting Blackowicz, for the title. I don't know about the next year, probably in the next 2-3 years, I would say, because Magomed's a beast, man. But on the flip side, Corey Anderson, I don't know, man. I've never really seen Corey Anderson as a true contender. Case in point, he did feel that Polish power. Was it a year ago? A little over a year ago, his last fight in the UFC. Before that, he wasn't really. Yes, he did beat some guys. He beat Johnny Walker, which we know is a complete fraud. Ilir Latifi, who's a bald fire hydrant now in the heavyweight division. I'm not sure how he got the win over Glover Teixeira. He beat Patrick Cummins, big whoop. And yeah, going back to his two consecutive losses, he did lose to OSP versus via head kick. He did lose to Jimmy Manawa. That looks pretty bad. But
Oh yeah, that
one of
that
his,
knockout, dude. That knockout. Now that you brought it up, that was a nasty knockout.
yeah, man. But I hate to say it because, um, but he did lose to split decision to Shogun Hua. Shogun Forever. Um, and then before then, even his wins before then were not all that impressive. He beat Tom Lawler. But I have to say, props to him for beating Fabio Maldonado, who technically gave us one of the most exciting fights I've ever seen. To be honest, when Fabio fought Fedor in Russia, uh, I think Fabio had to pull back after he after he surprised everybody in the audience. When he was gonna take Fedor take Fedor out, he remembered, oh yeah, I'm in Russia. I guess I'd better not win.
Oh yeah, he felt those sniper lasers on him.
No, he felt Putin's breath on the back of his neck. I think, or he just saw Putin like take off his shirt, and Putin's man nipples were pretty sharp, ready for battle or something. But yeah, this guy. One of the worst things is he lost to Gian Villante via punches, and but I think is the cherry on top of the diarrhea Sunday that is Corey Anderson's career. Um, yeah, I think you know what I am also going with the underdog, just because I'm not now, nor have I ever been, nor will I ever be high on Corey Anderson.
You know what
Uh,
this fight reminds me of slightly is when Rockhold fought Blahovic, and Rockhold was talking all this shit like I don't lose to guys like John Blahovic, and I kind of
oh
feel
yeah,
like Corey Anderson's got a bit of an ego, and he kind of gets himself in trouble. And he's talking all this shit after the man, or not the Manowar fight, but the Johnny Walker knockout. He's like, "I want a title shot," blah, blah, blah. And then he gets stiffened by Jean. I get a feeling that this might happen again. So yeah, I'll let you continue. I just had to let that out.
yeah. There is that arrogancy, and yes, while he beat Melvin Manhoef, I mean that was more. I would say that win was more for like name recognition rather than like, oh yeah, I beat a top contender sort of victory. I don't know if that makes sense, but
They kind of
um,
fed Melvin to him a little bit. That's kind of messed up.
yeah, there was that, and it's like Melvin. As much as I liked his previous fights, he is way past his prime. But yeah, Corey Anderson's only 31 years old. I thought he was like closer to 40. This guy has not aged well, man. He needs to go to a dermatologist, get some facials or something, man. God damn.
That's fucked up even for me.
Uh,
Oh, that's funny.
but yeah, I'm going with Yagshimuradov in the upset by, mm, I'd say TKO. Let's do TKO. That seems fun.
In our main event, we've got the rematch between Vadim, I'm just gonna call him the Russian Dynamo Nemkov, and Mr. Wonderful Phil Davis. And this is a rematch. Their first fight was a 3 round split decision win for Nemkov. And man, Nemkov has been on a really fantastic roll. He knocked out Felipe Lins, who's been a huge letdown in the UFC. Knocked out Liam McGeary. Love Liam McGeary. Made me money in Vegas. Never forget that. If I ever meet Liam McGeary, I'll buy him a beer or whatever. Then he beat Phil Davis by split decision. Then he submitted Rafael Carvalho, a black belt in Jiu Jitsu, and then he knocked out Ryan Bader. And I remember when that line came out for Bader versus Nemkov, I was like, oh, hell yeah. It was Nemkov plus money. I think it was like plus something, one something. And I was telling everyone that could listen to me, like, everybody bet Nemkov. He's gonna win because Ryan Bader kind of sucks, especially when he's fighting a better striker that has more speed than him, and of course takedown defense. Uh, as for Phil Davis, I've I've been a Phil Davis fan since the beginning, since he caught Tim Bosch in the Mr. Wonderful Kimura lock. Like I was like, this guy is special. This guy is something special. I've always been a fan of this guy. He is one of the few guys that can take bombs from Anthony Johnson and live to tell the tale. I remember watching that fight live, and I'm like, holy crap, he's taking shots from Anthony Rumble Johnson, and he's not budging. He got outclassed that whole fight, but he was still standing by the end of it. He didn't need to be stretchered out. He didn't lose any teeth. I was like, damn, that's incredible. That's wonderful, if you will. His last loss is to Nemkov, and to be honest, man, it's rather a simple win for Nemkov. There are a couple of concerns that I have with this matchup, but before I get into them, the odds currently have Nemkov a minus 210 and the return on Davis plus 175. I think the odds are very accurate. They're pretty good. I think they're leaning more towards I think they're going to be going higher. I think at the end of the day, they might be minus 250 for Nemkov. So if you can get those odds, I say take them. I think Nemkov's going to win this one. He's got every advantage. He is able to take Phil Davis down. In their first fight, he took him down relatively easily. He outstruck him. He's faster. I will say Davis always poses a threat. His striking has improved since his days in the UFC, where he was just a submission grappler, a wrestler grappler. He's knocked dudes out with, you know, punches, kicks. He's done it all, and he's really tough. He's a really tough out. I wouldn't be surprised if Phil Davis alters his game plan and even dominates Vadim Nemkov, but I don't see that happening whatsoever. Nemkov is just at this point on a completely different level. He should easily run through the competition on his bracket, and then he will go to the finals. And hopefully, we get to see a really good matchup between him and a certain somebody that we'll talk about once we get into that bracket. But we all kind of know who we think is going to be in the end of that bracket. I like this kid. He's super dynamic. He's 28 years old. Phil Davis, as much as I respect the guy, he is getting older. He's 36 years old, and he has a good reach, but his striking, despite improving, is not at the level of Nemkov. My biggest concern, as I mentioned earlier, is that Nemkov, there might be a possibility he can slow down, and if he does slow down, those last 2 rounds, he could easily win the first three, no problem. But if he exerts too much energy taking Phil Davis down, using his movement and kicks, Phil Davis is going to try to cut off the cage and take him down. And if Nemkov slows down, those last few rounds are going to be ass clinch city because Phil Davis can get a submission. He can TKO Nemkov. Like that's one thing I really like about Phil Davis is that if he is losing a fight, he will do his damnedest to win it. And I can actually see him losing every single round, somehow get a takedown in the fifth, and then just pound out a really exhausted Nemkov. And there's your new champion. So I am concerned about that slightly. I'm not like overly concerned, but the play will be Nemkov. I don't think he'll finish Phil Davis. This more than likely will go to a decision. Phil Davis is a really tough guy. Nemkov, I don't think he'll get finished. Of course, I think he's going to do all the beating. But yeah, Vadim Nemkov by decision.
Yeah, this is a really interesting one. And actually, I think Phil Davis's cardio will give out. Sure, while he has, I guess, okay cardio, he did not look all that great against Machida. He looked like he was exhausted by the end of that. Yeah, because he was trying to take him down or taking him down all those times. I think he's going to run out of gas by probably the second or third round of trying to force grapple against Nemkov. Nemkov is going to have the better striking on the feet. Going to have the better range. I'm just hoping he just doesn't, get pushed back into the cage and just get held there for a round and a half. I think he's got pretty good fight IQ. Training with Team Fedor. With that, I think he's got dynamic striking enough to keep Phil Davis off of him. Keep guessing, and I think he's got the awareness that Phil Davis is of what he's trying to do. So I think he's going to be able to stuff the takedowns early on in the fight when Phil Davis is at near full strength, which is going to drain him pretty quick. And then when he goes for down, when Phil Davis goes for his weak ass takedown attempts, second, third round and beyond, I think Nemkov is going to take advantage of that. And I don't know if he's going to submit him. I think he might position himself to possibly ground and pound, maybe elbow him or something. I'm hoping there's a finish here. But that being said, Phil Davis is hard to finish. He himself, I was actually thinking of OSP for some reason, but just because OSP is a great finisher, he has I guess they're trying to name that the Von, what is it?
The Von
The
Prue.
Von, yeah, the Von Prue. That's what it is. Somebody mentioned they're trying to read. I don't think they will, but yeah, the Von Flue choke, which OSP is known for. But Phil Davis is no slouch either. He is also, pretty good on the is it the anaconda choke, right?
He likes the
Um,
anaconda, but like I mentioned, the one technique was that one armed like Kimura that he did. It was fucking awesome.
I
That he
think it
did on
was
Timbos.
against was it Alexander? Oh no, Tim Boach. Yeah, yeah. So Phil Davis is no slouch on the mat either. He does have good grappling, good jujitsu, but Nemkov just has that the age. There's the age factor, the potency for not just this fight but going forward in the next few years. Phil Davis has lost out on that edge, unfortunately. Nemkov is the current champion. I think he will go on to the next round and face, when it comes to that. Uh, not saying it'll be easy. This tournament is nothing short. It's very you could very well be facing off against Yagshimov. I don't know. I think that would be probably the most interesting fight. Not that I have anything against Johnson and Romero. Romero's way over the hill. I think he just got a name recognition paycheck to go into Bellator. I don't think he's really. I think Romero's going to be as capable in Bellator as Machida has been as of late. As much as I love Machida, it's just just trying to keep it real, trying to keep it 99 because I don't keep it 100. Um, yeah, I'll take Nemkov by decision, but possibly I don't know. There might be I foresee at least a possible submission and that's just due to Nemkov transitioning into either a guillotine or maybe a rear naked out positioning Phil Davis on the ground. As he maybe takes him down or tries to take him down. Uh, so there's always the chance that he might scramble into a submission position.
You know what really scares me, just thinking about it, is that I think Vadim Nemkov, he tries a little too much. Nemkov, he kind of tries too hard, and he exerts too much energy sometimes doing like his takedowns or suplexes. Like he instead of, for example, let's just say this: there's a situation where he can easily take Phil Davis's back, and let's just say a normal guy who's winning a fight would take the back and just disengage, maybe push Phil Davis away, or even try to like stifle him up against the cage and just ride out the round and win on points. Nemkov will fucking try to suplex you and put a staple to the round, which is fine and dandy, but that cardio is going to take a bit of a hit, and that's my one concern with him. Like he's a fantastic fighter, and as you mentioned, he trains with. He's basically Fedor's prodigy and protege. It's just that. mm, that one little thing is what scares me. So hopefully I don't see that. Hopefully I'm not like biting my fingernails. I'm like, don't slam him. No, just let him go. Don't waste your energy. It's the first fucking round. Chill. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
don't
it's
blow your wad.
well, he's got to live and learn. I mean, if he
Yeah.
blows his wad every round, then that's something he has to work on. But I think Fedor, I think training with Fedor, he's offering a lot of wisdom, imparting a lot of his wisdom and such into Demkov, which he's kind of like Fedor 2.0. He's not the pudgy Russian who had a legendary career in Pride. He's fit, muscular. He's, I guess, in a sense, maybe the opposite of Fedor, because Fedor has always been just so unassuming. But this guy, he looks the part. He looks the part of a champion. I don't know. I don't know how good his English is going to get in the next, however long he's champion. But as of right now, I don't foresee him, unless he gets cocky with one of these fighters. I don't foresee him losing really to anybody realistically. Unless let me see,
You know what the sign would be?
unless
When
I
you,
was going to say unless Jan gets released by the UFC and then goes over to Bellator with his Polish power.
I was going to say, if you ever see him in an interview wearing sunglasses inside, might be the time to fade him. It's like, his little ego's getting a little too high.
Yeah, maybe.
Unless you're
Because if you,
one-eyed Bisbing, you're not allowed to wear sunglasses inside.
yeah, yeah,
Anything you want to
I'd
add
say,
before?
yeah. Oh, actually, there's one more thing I'd like to add,
Okay.
and that's this one guy who commented on the last Bellator podcast that we did. He commented that it was a shit show, but while Bellator, their fighters and their fights and their events are at the level of the UFC, it's no reason to shit on Bellator. So just keep that in mind.
Oh god damn. Well, those have been our picks for Bellator 257, Nemkov versus Davis 2. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. And that's been us from TigerBomb MMA, and we'll catch you at the next fight.